cancer is increasing in its incidence, and in some part of Asia, now it's very common. In Singapore, in Malaysia, if you go to Klang Valley, the Kuala Lumpur area, and in Sarawak, you don't find it in Belaga, but it's quite common in Kuching, Cebu, and Miri. The first time that a doctor or a scientist ever mentioned that colorectal cancer has something to do with diet was first mentioned by this man called Dennis Burkitt. You may have heard of him. Burkitt lymphoma. He used to work in Africa, and I believe he was trained in Middlesex Hospital, where our friend Peter Abrahams was trained. And I was told that some of the material he sent to Middlesex to be where research were performed. So Dennis Burkitt was saying one of the reasons why in Africa it is so uncommon to get colorectal cancer is that because of their diet. He said mainly fiber. I just give you an example. You know that on average, I give you figures from Singapore. Singaporeans on average take 17 grams of fiber a day. We used to calculate. We did very detailed study on Singaporean diet. And you know how much fiber does the African take in Uganda? The average is 120 grams a day. Vast difference. And that's why he said, well, fiber is very important in preventing cancer. But unfortunately, he also said many things. Fiber is important for heart, for varicose veins, for piles, for many things. So it's quite difficult to try to prove. Now, the second important information for us is population migration studies. This came from Hawaii. You know, just before the war and after the war, a lot of Chinese and Japanese emigrated to Hawaii. They came from areas where colorectal cancer was very, very rare. But in a very short time, the colorectal cancer increases by about 4 times in Hawaii. And in one generation, they started to have the incidence that they see in the white population. So if you emigrate to New Zealand from here, say from Kapit, where colorectal cancer is very uncommon, in one generation, you have one of the commonest cancers that they have, which is colorectal cancer. So what is the reason? So the other man who first mentioned about diet and cancer was Lawrence Colonel. He was in the public health. He was professor of public health in Hawaii. And he mentioned it was low fiber and high meat and fat content in the diet that is the cause of this increase in colorectal cancer. But it is very difficult to study. It's very easy to say, but it's very difficult to study. It takes a long time to study. And when people try to study, when we started, we didn't have good instruments. We didn't have the sophisticated computer. We didn't have the kind of statistics that was required. So it led to a lot of confusion. For example, I just take this as an example. My mother used to say, when you have surgery, if you want your scar not to be black, you don't take soya sauce. Now, it sounds very nice because soya sauce is black, it causes black scars. But how are you going to prove it? So it's very difficult to prove, and it leads to a lot of confusion. Now, The problem of studying diet is that everybody is an expert. You go anywhere, you go to your relatives, your friends, you go to coffee shop, they will tell you what to eat, what not to eat. Your mahjong kakis will tell you what to do. And this is very important because it's quite common for me to see my patients after surgery for cancer. I think, why are you still not putting on weight? Because before surgery you don't eat properly, then after surgery you don't eat properly, so you lose weight. So why are you not putting on weight? And it worries me. The patient said, "Doctor, I'm not putting on weight, I'm losing weight." I said, "Why?" "Oh," I said, "why don't you eat this?" "Oh, my mother said cannot eat chicken. My relatives said cannot eat eggs, cannot eat duck, cannot eat meat, cannot eat rice. Chinese cannot eat rice. You need to eat brown rice. No wonder you don't put on weight." So it is a very important clinical problem when you have this kind of perception. And the other thing, I have two patients recently. One was a lady in her 50s. We diagnosed cancer. She said, "Doctor, I cannot get colorectal cancer." I said, "Why?" I said, "You have." But he said, "I cannot because I drink bitter gourd juice every day. It should protect me." And one other patient in his 70s said he brought in one shopping bag of all these expensive supplements. "This is from my daughters from America, some from Australia. I take this every day, so I cannot get colorectal cancer." Just this kind of perception, wrong perception, is very important. And we also know diet is a very emotive subject. You have folklores, you have hearsays, you have advertisement, and then you have media claims. Modern societies are constantly bombarded. You look at any magazine, you look at your television programs, health foods, special diets, expensive supplements. Now, if these were all true, by right, we should not get any colorectal cancer. But the irony is this, you all know that these are in modern societies, that's where we get the most colorectal cancer. So what has been claimed are not true. Well, it's not only in Asia or Southeast Asia that we have things about diet. I came by AirAsia and I look at the magazine and they have this article on eat, drink, man and woman, not just diet and colorectal cancer. The other very favorite subject is diet and sex and fertility. And in caviar, Casanova claimed that it's a very important diet for his prowess. The Romans were talking about truffles. The Aztec in Mexico were talking about avocados. And of course, James Bond always swear by oysters. Well, the only thing he's made is that all these products are very expensive. And there's a picture of caviar. So, if we want to understand properly diet and colorectal cancer, I would like to take you back with me, step back, and then we first look at the very big pictures. Can you hear me at the back? Can you hear? Yeah. First and foremost, colorectal cancer is a very, very complex disease. It's not simple. It is complex. It is due to the very fine interactions of our age, and now we begin to understand inflammation in the bowel wall, as well as our lifestyle. I didn't talk about diet, I just said lifestyle. I will go through with it.